I'm going to tell you the truth. This project was quite the ordeal. Move that engine forward just to take the exhaust manifold. Like, come on, Mazda. You can do better with the design. G'day, folks. It's DIY Guy 123 here, bringing you another do-it-yourself video. This vehicle has a bad flex pipe, but the way they've designed it, you can't easily just change the flex pipe. But I'm going to tell you how to do it step by step. First thing you're going to do is go underneath and release the pipe that comes away from the downpipe. It's two nuts on studs. Get them off. And then from underneath, there's a bolt right here that goes through and connects to the lower part of the engine. So remove that. If you have access, remove the lower heat shield. If you have access to do it from underneath, go ahead and take that out at this point. There's an engine cover that needs to be pulled off. There are a couple things you need to do in sequence. So first thing is you need to remove the oxygen sensor. The connector is this connector right here. So a little hard to get at. Basically, you push the tab in and pull it out. So here's what an oxygen sensor socket looks like. Basically, it can go over the oxygen sensor. The cord or the wire from the oxygen sensor comes out the side. These are not super strong and they tend to open up. You can put vice grips around this to clamp it in place so that it won't spread open. This is what the O2 sensor looks like, and take a good look at those threads when it comes out. Sometimes if it's rusty or your manifold's really rusty, those threads will get destroyed, and in that case you can't reuse it. Next, with the O2 sensor removed, you can remove this top heat shield. Now I had two bolts that were good, and the other bolts, the other mounting bolts, were rusted right out. And now you're looking at the manifold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 studs and nuts. This is what it looks like. I took off the 5 of them and only one of them did the stud come out. The rest of them, the nuts all came off. Doesn't really matter. Preferable if the studs come out, because if they're not in good shape, you can simply change them. But if the studs stay in, not a big deal. If you're to this stage where the exhaust manifold is actually released from the block, you're going to think, hey, I can get that up because it almost wants to come. This part almost clears the valve cover. There is stuff in the way. I haven't seen anyone else get it out without moving the engine or dropping the cradles. Just give it up. There's not enough clearance. I've seen lots of sites that talk about taking this down and you need to release the lower cross member. That would screw up your alignment and be a really big pain. So I'm going to go with the lesser painful route and release the engine and move it forward. Now the engine's got 3 engine mounts. One here, one underneath the battery, and one in the back. You don't want to release all 3 of those. I'm going to release the passenger side mount and then the one in the back. Now before I release them, I've got to support the engine from underneath. Now I happen to have a hoist with a rolling jack, which I think is kind of the best case scenario. But if you don't have that, you can use a floor jack underneath the engine oil pan, put a piece of wood between the floor jack and the pan, and jack it up just until you see the engine move up. And that will tell you that, okay, when I release this mount, the engine will just be kind of dangling there, balanced there. So on the mount, there were 1, 2, 3 bolts that hold the mount on the passenger side, so they're out. You'll notice there's only a couple of inches of gap right here. So I have removed the radiator fan. In order to do that, I took the air box out, which just pulls out. I did have to release this clamp, took the airbox top off, and then there are a couple of bolts right here that I had to take off, and then the airbox just lifts out and out of the way. I released the 2 bolts that hold the radiator in place, disconnect the wire harness all the way around the radiator, the fans, there's a sensor there, disconnect all of that, and then move the fan away from the radiator and towards the engine, and put the wire harness on the bumper side. So lift the wire harness up and over the fan, and then the fan will just lift out. Before I go any further, I'm going to take this rear heat shield off. And then this shield comes right out of there. This is a bracket that held up those coolant hoses or heater hoses. What a job. So I read online, some people say jack the engine up and move it forward. That made things worse for me. So I jacked the engine up, released the motor mount on the passenger side like fully, like it's just flopping. And then I lowered the motor, and that was better, but not enough. So then I used this ratchet strap on the front of the hoist there. If you had a buddy, you could get him to hold it, to just pull it ahead just enough. And even with that, this thing barely came out of there. But anyway, it's out now, and I'm going to put the new one in, and we'll put her all back together. Let's hope I can remember how everything goes. Okay, so here we are with our new cat and the old heat shield. The bolt holes had rusted through the heat shield. So I've built it up with large washers, and hopefully that'll do the job. I've just used a large steel hose clamp to hold it in place. So I'll wait to do the top heat shield after it's in. So here's a nice touch. The kit comes with the new manifold gasket that goes up between the block and the manifold, which you'd expect. But it also comes with the other end too, which I wasn't expecting. So it looks pretty good on there. I've already polished these sides, but I'll get that guy left. Make sure there's no corrosion left on, no trace of the old gasket, and you're ready to go with the new one. And here's a look at that abrasive wheel that I used. It's sort of barely abrasive, so it's made of rubber, and it must have some kind of abrasive stuff in it. But basically, it will clean gasket material off, but you got to hold it in place a long time before it scores the aluminum. Now this is a multi-layered gasket. It's pretty fragile. You definitely don't want to kink it. So take your time putting it on, work it over the studs. Manifold goes in next. Here we go. Okay, I dropped the manifold down. It actually went in super easy. I wonder if the new one's actually a little smaller than the old one. Anyway, it's in. The unit comes with instructions that talk about a proper break-in period, and it talks about letting it idle without touching the gas pedal for 5 minutes, and then hold it at 2,500 RPM for 2 minutes.
The dealer wanted almost $2,000 for the part after tax, and then the labor to put it on would have been about $1,500. That brings you up to about $3,400. And instead, I went with the Muffler Express part. You can find a link in my description. It retails for about $600, depending on which vehicle you have. And it is by far a better way to go. Good luck with your do-it-yourself projects. You too can do it yourself.